Fear. Fear is a primal emotion. It's very powerful. And usually, when you let fear govern your decisions, it usually ends in some kind of destruction of some kind. A life, a thing, something. On 9/11, 2001, when we were attacked, the George Bush administration had a choice. They could have used that day to engender a host of emotions. They could have used it to connect the world like the world has never been connected. Because if you remember, in those first hours, those first days, the world was mourning with us. We were connected like never before. And a more scrupulous person in the White House could have used that to everyone's advantage. But instead, the George Bush administration chose to use fear. They chose to destroy instead of to build. And because of fear, no one stopped them. There were people who were afraid to speak up. George Bush was able to attack Iraq, a country that had nothing to do with 9/11. And it was because of fear. The media helped him do it because of fear. He was able to torture. He was able to invade Afghanistan, even though the people who did the attack only trained there. They weren't Afghanis. But he was able to invade the entire country. All because of fear. It was like our judgment was clouded because of fear. And that's what fear does. Fear can create a spiritual darkness where people just can't see right from wrong anymore. That's why so many people in Washington, these politicians, our leaders, voted for the war in Iraq, voted for the war in Afghanistan. Because of fear. Afraid to be seen as soft on terrorists. Afraid. Fear. Fear opened Guantanamo. Fear allowed us to hold people without trial, without charge, and think there's nothing wrong with that. That's fear. That's darkness. Now, Barack Obama is trying to lead us out of darkness. And he's getting no help from Congress. No help from anyone, really. But he's taking it on his shoulders to try and lead us toward the light. This release of these 5 prisoners from Guantanamo for the soldier, Bo Bergdahl, is a step in the right direction. And people, the same people that engendered fear that helped George Bush scare us with 9/11, the same people that got him reelected in 2004 by basically holding 9/11 at the American people's head like a gun, saying, if you don't elect this, you'll die by the hands of terrorists. These same people are screaming to high heaven because Barack Obama released 5 people and brought home Bergdahl, brought home an American soldier. Whether he's a deserter or not, that's a separate argument. No one should argue or question the fact that we bring this guy home. No one should question the fact that we need to close Guantanamo Bay. But yet, this party, this Republican Party that has basically lost itself. I mean, I have friends that are Republican, and most of them don't even claim the Republican Party anymore. Some of them have joined the Independents. Some of them have just dropped out of politics altogether because the Republican Party is not itself. Even now in the primary, it's a choice between the hard right and the extreme right. These same people are screaming about the closing of Guantanamo. They're still trying to make us afraid. They're still trying to use fear. It's their chief weapon, really. But the question is, what kind of country are we going to be? Are we going to hold people indefinitely without trial or charge? Or are we going to be or hold the values that has guided us all this way, or at least until 2001? We used to be seen as the good guys. Now, George W. Bush and his administration has changed this country forever. They've changed how we're seen in the world. They changed how we see ourselves, I think. Fear. It can destroy you if you let it. If you let it govern your decisions, it can destroy you. It can destroy a country. Guantanamo Bay has to be closed. And we, as American people, have to face our fear. Yes, these men are dangerous. Some of them anyway. Maybe most. Yes, they may attack us. Yes, they may attack our allies. But we don't have a choice. We can't hold them forever. And it's important to understand the difference between a terrorist and the people that we call the Taliban. These same men, the Taliban, are the same men that fought the Russians when they invaded Afghanistan. And they defeated the Russians. We call them the Mujahideen then. These are the same men. They basically have one job. It's to repel invaders. That's what they do. They're not terrorists. You invade their country, you have to deal with them. That's how it's been. It's a military fact that these men are undefeated. All the way back to the time of Alexander the Great, these men are undefeated. Now, personally, I don't agree with their politics. I don't agree with how they treat their women. I don't agree with their view of God or any of it. But I respect that they're defending their home. The terrorists in Guantanamo, the members of Al-Qaeda, anybody there that we have evidence that hasn't been tainted by torture, we should charge them. We should have trials, put them in jail, do whatever. But anybody that we can't charge or we don't have evidence, we have to let them go. And the last point I want to make is this, regarding fear. It's one thing to fear the bombs that these men might bring us. That's understandable. But when you start fearing words, when you fear the story that these men will tell more than the bombs, you got a problem. A serious problem. That's taking a terrorist and basically turning him from a terrorist to a prophet. Because a terrorist, you may be afraid of the bombs, but prophets, you're afraid of their words. So if these men words are more dangerous to us than the bomb, we moved into territory that I don't think we want to be in. Guantanamo Bay must close, and we as a country must face our fear.